Okay, hi everyone. Welcome back, and now we're on to game 9 of the NFT game series. And today we're going to be looking at one from the black perspective. And I do want to apologize. When I was putting this course together, I fully intended to have both white and black examples, but I wanted to source every single example from a real game. And just in practice, white just wins far more often than black, especially in these early miniature examples. And when black does win, it's often a really messy game. And this is perhaps the clearest example. And so we're going to reach this position, known as the Scotch. I really, really like this opening. I still play it to this day. After take, you can see the appeal is again, it's really easy to for White to develop all of his remaining pieces to basically any diagonal he wants. You're going to castle. Very, very simple. We got a slight space advantage. It's really easy to play. Highly recommend. And then black, he says, I don't care. Queen goes to h4. And I will say this game was played in 1850, and the opening principles that we know and love that I've been espousing this course, they weren't really developed. It was basically who can attack first. Um, And so we're going to actually see this. By playing queen goes to h4, obviously we're attacking this. The queen is also hitting h4, and it's taking advantage of white's last move. Again, white moved the knight, which was defending on this away, and so now queen is going to come into that square. Okay. And now white then tries to take advantage of black's last move by going knight goes to b5. And so we can see both sides are violating the open principle. We got the queen out early, trying to attack, and now white is making multiple moves of the same piece, but also threatening c7. What does black do? If you guess defend, you of course are wrong. Bishop goes to c5. Both sides are just whipping attacks at each other. So now, of course, let's threaten checkmate. What does white do? Well, white, you have to defend checkmate. But he does it, of course, if queen goes to f3. Maybe he wants to play bishop goes to c4 itself. So we can see already just kind of this wild, crazy game. And now here, the question sort of is, does black defend against this? No. No retreat, no surrender. Black goes all in, knight f6. You want this? It's all yours. You want the rook? It's all yours. But look what black gets in exchange. So yes, he's down a rook, and it's a lot. I'm not trying to minimize this. But in exchange, he has three minor pieces developed. They both have a queen developed, and the rook is lying, eyeing up the king. It's not quite the open e file, but we can imagine this file opening up very, very quickly. So even though white is up material, because so many pieces are undeveloped, white needs to defend very, very carefully. And I would challenge you, looking at this position from white, maybe I will simply flip the board. When you're looking at this, what move would jump out to you? What move do you think you'd want to play? And I'm going to assume that you don't like the rook eyeing your king, and you're probably going to want a castle. You're also probably noticing that there's a lot of pressure on e4, and so it makes sense to develop this bishop and then castle. That's how white played bishop goes to d3, which I don't want to call it a mistake. Well, it is. It's a mistake. It's a very natural move. Of course, the bishop goes to e4 does nothing to actually stop knight takes e4. And now we got a problem where the e file is fully opened up. What do you do? White castles, and now white's lost. So it's actually fascinating. She might be thinking, hold on, Smithy. Didn't white just develop a piece and castle, which are two of the main important things in the opening, and now you're saying he's losing? And it's true. But the reason for that is because white has already wasted a whole bunch of time moving this knight multiple times, bringing his queen out early, and then grabbing material instead of finishing development. And so when you do that, you can't rely on the opening principles later. So that is, you can't go and violate them. You can't go and move a piece a lot, grab material, and then turn around and say, hey, I tried finishing development, and the computer says it's a mistake. Like, once you do this, the principles kind of fade into the ether. They aren't going to determine your next move. You have to do raw, hard calculation. And if you were to do that, you would realize that castling is going to fall into this knight takes f2 problem where everything is hitting on this. What should white have done? So after bishop takes e4, you can imagine rook takes e4. the best move is king goes to d1. And now I think it's pretty obvious to think why you wouldn't want to play this as white. Your king's in the center, black's king is in the center. There's so many pieces going around here. The computer says that white can defend and still have approximately a pawn advantage, which I think is incredibly hard. And I imagine if you were to try and take this position and play it against Stockfish, trying to defend as white, there's a good chance you probably couldn't do it. It's very, very difficult. And it's important to note that the more natural move, king goes to f1, kind of like pretending to castle, this does not work because of this move. Bishop is coming to a6. That's check, and it would be decisive. Like if you just try and develop or something, doesn't matter, check, and that's already mate. Um, um, Absolutely decisive. And so again, it's really natural, I think, for white to have wanted to castle. But again, it doesn't work. And so all this is to say, even though I'm going to share these variations, which are harder to see and it's really hard to play as white, the real mistake, the computer is going to say that castling is a mistake, but the real mistake was taking that rook at the beginning. Moving the knight multiple times and violating the principles. That was the real mistake, and the castling, that's just a symptom. All right, we're black. We're going to cash in. Knight takes goes f2. It's already fully defended. There's not really much that you can do at this point. What do you want to do? Well, white ends up taking. Is there any alternative? Otherwise, this knight is going to move with discover check. For example, g3, maybe we try and chase the queen away, but that simply allows knight goes to g4. As we can see, it's check. You can try and, block the rook. Oh my, rook e1. Very, very mate. Again, the rook can't actually help because of the checkmate, right? Uh, Taking here right away is just, it allows the king to slide over. So by throwing the rook up, that makes it sure that it's checked. All right, so g3 doesn't work. So what if we take with the rook? Well, again, it's pinned. We don't need to take it right away. We get that rook all the way in. Look how all of black's pieces are just flowing in. There's one piece that's not yet in the party. He brings it in. Knight goes to d4. Look at this. Queen, knight, bishop, rook, all right there. Queen's attacked. What do you do? Well, white more or less gives up. Queen takes f7. That allows a really pretty finale. Knight jumps in d2. Isn't this incredible? The knight, it can't be taken by the bishop because of the pin. It can't be taken by the rook because of the pin. So the only move is to chase the king over. And now white has a choice. Black has a choice. He took, but then he comes in, pin, and that's a beautiful final, sort of a smothered mate, comes in. So why did black win this game? Black won this game because he had more development. He focused on time. Look at this, right? In the critical position, black has three minor pieces developed to 0. Both have a queen out. His king isn't very happy. But notice how white never had a chance to attack the black king because all of his army is sleeping. Whereas even though white's king tried to castle, it's not working because, again, black's entire army was able to coordinate and just absolutely crush on it. And so, again, it's that development, it's the time factor. Focus on time, and things are going to happen really, really well. Now, again, this is a really messy game, and if you look at it with the computer, you're going to see lots of different suggestions, different moves, ways that both sides could have improved. But again, I want you to focus on the overall narrative, right? The general principle idea is white spent a lot of time winning material, and that made it really hard to defend against black's coming initiative. And so it's going to work the same thing in your games. If you grab a lot of material and don't develop, it's going to be really hard to defend. So I would suggest don't do that. Focus on developing. Focus on being like black, getting your pieces out, and then your moves are going to be a lot easier to find, and they're going to be a lot prettier too. So we're going to call that there. Thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next game. Bye for now.